Spence, last week we talked about Josh Taylor returning to the ring in his fight against Ekow Essuman as a make or break fight for him. Obviously he's stepping up to 147, so there's a little bit of latitude in there, but we still felt this was a make or break for Josh. It's a break.
Yeah.
When you look at the performance from Josh Taylor, what do you take away from the fight, perhaps on behalf of Josh Taylor?
Yeah, I think that we saw glimpses of brilliance there from Josh Taylor, but he couldn't sustain that. He couldn't keep it going. Like at the early part of the fight, first 6 rounds gone. You go, Taylor might have been level. He might have been one behind. He might have been one in front. That's where you was at with it, subjective scoring. Second half of the fight, you could clearly see the engine had run dry. He had nothing left, and he was fighting purely on pride.
Were you surprised?
Yeah.
I mean, everyone felt that despite Josh's best arguments and constant protesting about this, that making the weight at super lightweight was a challenge for him, and going up to 147 was going to be
the answer.
You know, a Hail Mary.
That's what I thought. I thought going for 147, we clearly see that he'd outgrown super lightweight. I was chatting to him all week up there. He seemed like in a good headspace. He looked more healthier. And you go, now we're going to find out exactly what you got left. Let's not forget he's 34 years of age. Some fighters age, sooner rather than other fighters. Some people's longevity is not that. And I think what we saw there was that we saw glimpses, like I say, of brilliance, but he couldn't contain it. He couldn't sustain it, sorry.
Where does he go? I mean, we've got someone that I think has never been given the prerequisite amount of respect for his achievements. I think he wasn't looked after by the broadcasters. He wasn't given the focus that he should have got when he became an undisputed champion in his weight class. But he's now off the back of 3 defeats. Some people would argue 4. I think most people would say 4 because the Jack Catterall first fight was a travesty. There's no shame in losing to Teofimo Lopez, but lose he did. Categorically got beaten by Jack Catterall in the second fight and has now lost to a very decent fighter in Ekow Essuman, but not someone that people would have put on paper was going to trouble Josh Taylor to such a point that he loses this fight. What are the options now for Josh?
As you've just said that, no disrespect to Jack Catterall, but the levels just dropped slightly from Lopez down to Catterall, but then it's dropped a fair bit. No disrespect to Essuman, to Ekow Essuman, who did great. We were commentating on the fight, and what I noticed on the night is the shots will have an effect at 140 against them opponents, but Essuman's just solid and he's going to take them. But the level of ability, he's not knocking on the door for undisputed championship fights, Essuman, you know what I mean? And the fight on the weekend, it was a bit of a role reversal for me. I felt Essuman would start fast, Taylor would warm into it because he's got the more experience, and Taylor started really fast. And as you said before, Spence, it's a difficult task to maintain.
Where's the decline come in from Josh? Because in the Ramirez fight, he was impressive.
Yeah.
He goes into the Catterall fight with a complete disdain and contempt for Jack Catterall, beneath me. And from that point, we've not seen the same. The Josh Taylor that left the ring against the Ramirez hasn't turned up again, has he?
No, but then he's been boxing a higher caliber opponent. That's an argument. You go like Teofimo Lopez,
great fight.
Great fighter. Jack Catterall's very difficult to beat when he gets in it. Yeah, Regis Prograis, that was a great fight as well. But you look at it and you go, it maybe have been a slight decline because Father Time does catch up with you as well. Like I say, 34 years of age, but he's been boxing a very good standard of fight. But what we saw against Esuman,
the amateur career.
Yeah, the amateur. That's what I'm saying. He's been around a long time, But what we saw against Esuman was, there was a guy there that he hurt Esuman a few times. Maybe early on he might have been able to capitalise on that, but he couldn't do it. He couldn't sustain it.
The weight as well.
But with that higher weight, that's what Simon was referring to. You go, we thought he was going to get better and his engine would be better, but it might be just a case of that slight decline that he just hasn't got that extra little bit.
He's been around for a long time.
Absolutely.
I was in the wild card with all the lads up the gym and my brothers in 2012. And Josh Taylor was there with a couple of lads from the local boxing gym, and they were knocking 7 bells out of seasoned pros.
Right. What was he
Taylor
like?
Was the standout of the amateur group at the time.
What was the build-up like in the gym? He's going through this fight camp and whatnot. I'm not asking you to give anything away, but I'm saying, what was the general feeling around it?
I don't go in there much of a day. I go in overnight with my son, and for the amateur setup in the day, it's the pros, and we're in a different gym at the moment. But we obviously see and hear things, what's happening, and I believe he was having a decent camp.
Can Ekow kick on? I mean, I saw Ekow fight Chris Congo in a fight that he was expected to lose. I thought he was brilliant in that fight, won the fight, then loses his next fight, builds some momentum again now. He's now built some momentum. Can he go get a world title shot against someone like Barrios and win it?
This is the thing that you've just been saying. We shouldn't, it's similar to what we said about McKenna, we shouldn't be discrediting him for the win.
Yeah.
And just, Taylor was bad or Taylor was all. It was a really good win, and he did well, he boxed well, especially the last 6 rounds. It was hard to give Taylor a round after the last 6 rounds.
But he showed, like I say, he was hurt a couple of times. He showed a lot of character, come back. He's 36 years of age, let's not forget.
Yeah.
He deserves that shot. He does deserve one, but you're going, where does he go? Are you talking like a Boots Ennis? You know, you're looking at Barrios would be the better shot for him because, you know, he's got the WBC title. You go, if you can get that opportunity, then
well,
great.
I mentioned Barrios, and it brings up a thorny subject, and I hope you think it's thorny, Paul, about Manny Pacquiao and the WBC's decision to bring him back in and mandate or allow a fight between him and Barrios for the welterweight title. I mean, this can't be right, can it?
I'm more angry and wound up at Pacquiao's decision to want to fight on. You're not short of money, so it's ego. And if you can't drop the ego and try and fight on at that age, it's all you're really doing it for. Surely you don't think you can come back and win a world title at this level. I see Klitschko all the time hinting about coming back. Like you were on the decline 10 years ago. Nothing's going to change.
Don't you think a sanctioning body should be saying,
there's not a chance he should be fighting for a world title. We've seen fighters, my brother Liam had to do, he had to fly to Spain to have a quick fight to get a win so you can then challenge for the title. He's coming back after such a long layoff and he's been put in straight away for the world title.
I think, listen, going off merit, because he's an 8-weight world champion and he's Manny Pacquiao, he's been gifted that opportunity, is a disgrace, I think, from the WBC's point of view. You go, how do you allow that to happen? If you want in any credibility, you go, you've got these kids that are grafting to get to this position to fight for these world titles, all of a sudden Manny comes in and you allow it. I think it's an absolute disgrace.
I agree.
I don't think I've spoken to you since the Eubank Ben fight. Where were you on that fight, and are you in the camp of wanting to see a rematch?
Thought it was a great atmosphere on the night being there. I watched it from a few rows back. I think it was a clear winner for Eubank. I didn't think it was close, as people were making out. But I thought it was a very good effort from Conor Ben, who had a good go. Would I watch a rematch? Yeah. If it was in another stadium like that, I would probably go as well.
Do you think it merits
the atmosphere was really good? I say this all the time. I don't think either fighter are of the level of what the public would probably concede them to be. But because they're both similar levels at the moment, it's always going to be a good fight. Added to that, the bad blood. I thought Eubank did great, by the way. And I think he needs a lot of credit and praise for really biting down, digging in, and keeping the fight going and the pace going that he set. He wanted to win more than anything in that fight, and I felt like he showed it. And it was a good all-round story. Seeing the dad on the night here and Simply the Best. It was nostalgia that won on the night. And I was a sucker for it myself. I got suckered in. Would I watch it again? Yeah.
Of course, listen, you think about like inspiring, new generations and whatnot, because of the history of the fathers that go back, there was a lot of interest in it for, the guys that dip their toe in and out of water, don't maybe watch boxing as regularly as they do. And I think that would have inspired a younger generation to want to take up boxing. And would we go, like, if you're looking at the landscape for them two, and where do they go? There's no world title opportunity for either of them right now. You go, so of course they're going to run it back.
I was like
financially, it's big money, but it was a great fight. You can't deny that.
I was slagging Cena off for having his own music coming to the ring, and then as soon as I seen him get out the car, I said, I hope they play Simply the Best. And I was hoping that they played it and he started playing it. The nostalgia one for me, definitely.
Can I ask you finally before we go? I mean, obviously Dave Allen's had a great win last week against Johnny Fisher. What did you think of the fight, and where do you think? I mean, obviously Dave Allen's such a lovely fella. So laid back and so calm and so self-effacing and unassuming. What did you make of his performance in that fight, and where do you think he should go next, Paul?
Thought he'd done well. Again, I can't be a hypocrite. I said online, I really did want to see Dave Allen fighting again after the career that he'd had, and it's been a sort of a second part of his career. But
what, specifically because of the performance against Fraser Clark or something like that?
Yeah. But he's got Johnny Fisher's number, and no disrespect to Johnny Fisher, he's a nice lad, and a great ticket seller, brilliant for boxing, but I'm struggling to see where he would go now after losing to Dave Allen the way he has. And the first fight, obviously, I think Dave Allen just knew that he had his number. Now, I had a little bet on the fight on those rounds, round 4 and round 5. But I just thought he'd chip away, take what he had. But that's what it looked like on the night. He was just absorbing. Where's
he go?
Fisher started in third or fourth gear
Jamie Moore constantly says, or is now saying, because one of the things that David said about was that he swallowed the fight against Fraser, wasn't it?
Fraser
Clarke. Fraser Clarke.
And Jamie Moore came in the studio and said, no, he didn't swallow the fight. He says that about himself, but it's not true. And he's a damn sight better than he gives himself credit for. And if we apply Dave Allen, then we've got outcomes that are far more significant than perhaps he realises. With that in mind, do you think that A, that's right, and B, where do you think he can get to? Do you think a fight against someone like David Adeleye for the British title, if David comes through against Jamie TKV, or the winner of that fight, shall we say, is the natural destination for Dave Allen?
So I said this on Twitter, someone was, and I trust Jamie Moore, I believe what he's saying. If Jamie Moore's saying that, he doesn't say things for cameras or
for effect.
So if he's saying that, I do believe that. What I didn't like with Dave Allen when he was fighting Johnny Fisher, all the niceties, like, you're fighting him. You know, there's too much respect there, like touching gloves, and I don't think he should fight me next because, you know, it's not that he's a friend. And if you can get the most money for yourself and beat someone like him and make your way back for your career, you got to think about your career. I mentioned about the David Adeleye fight, and I wouldn't personally like to see it. I think Adeleye would have too much for him. But again,
really,
that's my opinion. But I've been wrong plenty of times before, and I'm sure I'm going to be wrong again. That's just me watching what I've saw of Dave Allen.
That's
and
just
I'm not trying to put Johnny Fisher down saying this either. I just think it's another step up, and the way he punches Adeleye and how he looked. Don't get me wrong, listen, the Jamie TKV fight, they know each other inside out. Probably why it was cagey, probably why TKV was winning a little bit, and the controversial ending of it. But I personally, I don't know where he's going to go, but I'm sure with Jamie Moore looking after him and the team around him, he'll be guided in the right way and looked after.
Well, we'll ask Dave next week because he's on next week with us next week.
Absolutely. But surely British title is the natural,
be a great
obvious
story
step
if you won the British title.
That's the dream. That's where he sees himself
story if you won it.
Right, fellas, that's it for episode 122 of Talk Boxing. Thanks to Spence, thanks to Paul, and obviously Frank Warren. And we'll see you guys next time we're out.